Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Matt, and today I want to talk about learning languages by shadow speaking. There's a lot of different words out there for it, but basically it is speaking in a foreign language, but without a language learning partner or a bunch of people to practice that skill. So basically it's speaking on your own. And I know there's a lot of people out there that think this is a great method or not a great method, but in the end of the day, I do think it is useful. And it's a really beneficial tool for a lot of people in certain circumstances. So here's the deal with shadow speaking. So the main idea behind this is to just practice speaking, but with no partner. So basically you're just kind of talking to yourself. Now, what's really great about this is that it does a lot of things very well, right? Number one, you don't need to spend any money on a conversation partner through something like Italki or whatever. You also don't have to go outside and talk to other people. So that's really good, especially for people on a budget. The other thing too is that for a lot of people there's kind of this maybe self-consciousness and maybe not feeling ready to talk to someone in a foreign language. Maybe you don't think you're good enough, you're a little bit shy. This is a great way to kind of practice that speaking skill, get a little bit warmed up before you kind of jump in and maybe build that confidence up. And not only that, it really does help you on your output ability. It really helps you to analyze where you are in a language and really just get better overall. Just through a different method that's a little bit compelling. So how do you really do shadow speaking? Well, I think the best way is just to basically think about it as if you were writing a journal. It's almost kind of like a blog, but you're really just talking to yourself. And so what I like to do is just talk about various subjects and practice speaking in the foreign language. Don't be too obsessed about making mistakes or stuttering or maybe messing up the word order or whatever it is. Just get comfortable and practice speaking, because what you'll find is that your speaking skills in a language is very different than maybe your knowledge in a language. So being able to read very well in a foreign language is very different than speaking and output, because when you speak, you don't have a lot of time to speak, right? You have to almost have the words come immediately to your mind to kind of output it, and thus your accuracy is not necessarily the best. You have this accent that you have to manage and balance. So it's definitely a different skill, and it's worth practicing quite a bit, right? Because there'll be times where you're speaking and you just feel like you do not know the language at all. But what you have to understand is that it is a different skill than reading or the amount of words that you know. And so you really need to practice that skill. And especially for people, like I said, that don't want to spend that money on a conversation partner, or maybe they don't have a ton of people to speak to in their area, or they're really time constrained, this is a great way to get that speaking practice in and start building that up, because you're really going to want to get better at that, because it is a skill in of itself. And you can know all the words that you want, but if you can't practice that, you're going to be pretty weak. So you really want to get started, and it's a great way to get that in with really kind of no money requirement or finding a community or whatever. So how do you do this? So really, I think the best way is just do speeches or talk about various subjects, kind of like a blog. So a really easy way to do this is just talk about your day. Like, what happened in your day? Just say it out loud and talk about it. You could also just do things like you would normally do in your own language, but just try to do them in the foreign language. So let's say you watched a movie recently, or you played a video game. Basically, have a review of it, but speak it out in a foreign language. Like, imagine a friend was asking you, how was this movie? Describe that movie to them, and just describe a review of the movie. And that's a great way to practice it, like these kind of mock conversations, and really test your vocabulary, your pronunciation, and all of these things while speaking in a foreign language. Some other topics out there are just talk about a subject that you like, right? Maybe you're really into gardening. Just talk about gardening for 15 minutes and just whatever comes to your mind. I would stray away from trying to create a conversation with yourself, like, hello Bob, how are you? But really just try to do like speeches, blog entries, things like that. And definitely try to do different topics while you're at it, because that's a great way to expand your vocabulary and really test your knowledge and to go into different domains. So maybe you keep talking about how your day was. Well, try something else, right? Maybe try talking about your favorite restaurant one day. And the next is maybe talk to yourself about where you would like to travel in the future, or what are your goals for next year. Just try different subject matters, because that'll use obviously different words, different vocabulary, and it'll be a different context. And that freshness is important for it to be compelling, and just also help you to learn more. And so it's just an excellent way to practice, is just do this shadow talking. Now, I think inevitably what comes up is a lot of people say, well, what if I make mistakes? What if I am reinforcing really bad patterns? Like, what if I'm reinforcing bad grammar while I'm speaking? Or what if I'm using the wrong word and I keep reusing it and I'm building this habit in my head? And while there is probably truth to that, I do think that inevitably you're always going to, kind of make mistakes in the language, right? You're going to read and think that this word means something and then find out, oh, it actually doesn't mean that. Even if you were speaking with someone in real life, chances are, yeah, someone could correct you, but they also don't have to correct you because they understand the spirit of your message. So you could easily be making the same mistakes speaking to someone else. So I don't really think that it's really any different on the shadow speaking side of things. So with that being said, don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's part of the language learning process. Making mistakes and being okay with uncertainty is a part of the language learning process. And so, the more that you're comfortable with that, the more progress ultimately you're going to make at the end of the day. So don't worry about mistakes. No matter how you slice it, you're going to make grammar mistakes. You're going to make word mistakes. You're going to stumble. Be okay with that, because the best way to get better is to practice and to put more time investment into that process. And so when you do that, you're going to ultimately improve your speaking. And not only that, it's going to help improve, your understanding of grammar. You'll be like, oh, okay, maybe I don't understand these tenses as well. I need to review this, because when I'm speaking, I'm not very good at expressing myself accurately in the past, or whatever it is. So try that out. Try shadow speaking. It's a great way to practice speaking when you don't necessarily have the money or the resources available. And let me know what you think. And I will see you, of course, in the next video. Take care.